Now, these three titles are how and where. Project, how and where to start writing a project proposal with preliminary work. So this is about the preliminary work before starting writing the project proposal. The second part, am I right? Okay. The second one is writing a project proposal, progressing with self-criticism, which is very important to me, almost very important to everybody. And he is going to continue with an example, evaluating an example of a project proposal. So these talks would be 20 minutes or 10 minutes each, time-wise. Then it will be interactive. We will be interrupting him, asking questions, and as well as you can do it. Or we will be contributing something or commenting on what is being said. So now it's your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ibrahim. And thanks, Ali, for the kind invitation. As usual, I'm very glad to be here. I think it became like a family. We meet each other every 2 years. So I am from the University of Lille, the Laboratory of Civil Engineering and Environments especially, and I'm director of that laboratory. And to be honest, I knew that I had to do this lecture for the students, but I was expecting to do something about more simulation as usual, like humanities, but it was written, but I didn't realize. I'm sorry about that, but I prepared quite fast, but I think I summarized things that can be of help for people. I think, and this is.
I mean, any preparation is not really necessary for this subject. We are just trying to pass our expertise to the youngsters, because this session is being recorded and will be provided to whoever wants to see it.
Exactly. Yeah. So what I have prepared for this, from my own experience, but also by reading some in some places somewhere. Okay. I will go here to the. Well, in fact, I summarized the 3 points in just one big. Okay. You will see. Okay. So the first step is the following. So I don't. Okay. For some reason. Well, first of all, you have to look what I can say to the students, also for ourselves, for the most appropriate role corresponding to your domain of expertise. Okay, if it is out, so it will have no chance to be successful, of course. And the second point before starting is you should also look for the more benefic projects, including funds, what is the most important, and also the duration, if you are looking for projects for 2 years or 3 years or 5 years. And also the other points, the projects, as you know, it can be national, it can be bilateral between 2 or more countries, or it can be international, like European grants. Okay, so how to prepare the project? Some points here. First of all, I think it is important to prepare administrative part of the projects, which means everything related to the career of the person who will lead the projects, the budget, and also to justify the budgets, and extended synopsis, the CV. Okay, I will be back to the CV later, and your achievements. That's it. Okay. To this end, you have to respect as much as you can the templates of the projects, as much as possible. Okay, sometimes it can be some details can be in the underline or in between brackets in for each point. It depends on the project, and do not exceed the number of pages as fixed. So these are the preliminary steps. I think that everybody knows. Yeah. Now something about the idea of the person from behind, okay, who will be in charge the expertise of the project. Okay, so the review. I think I'm hearing myself. It's okay. Thank you. Okay, the reviewer will look first on the feasibility of the project. Reviewers are in general what you wrote here, acting as generalists and not sure that they are always specialists on the topic you are going to present. This means first, you should avoid everything like jargon, excessive highlighting. Okay? If it is too much, it is not good. Bold, italic, underline. You should also leave them with an impression of yourself. So the balance here is really subtle. Okay? It is not, you cannot make a final judgment about that or too much complete. What is important is to make them want to explore how precisely you will go. Okay. At first look, reviewers are generally looking on the reason to reject the proposal. Well, it is like that. It is, I think, bad, but it's also with the papers. The first impression, except if they know the name, it's his famous name, and so on, they will look on the negative points rather than the positive points. And it is generally the case in France, I think, yeah, and less in Germany. Yeah, this is from my experience. Yeah, from French point of view, the reviewers will always look to the negative points first, not the positive one. It is like that. Well, and they are looking for the answers.
Do you mean that if they could not find any bad points, they will have to accept the project? Is it that way?
Yes, I think so. Okay, and they are looking also for the unanswered questions. This is also another point. So difficult to expect the idea of the reviewer concerning your projects, but we have also the points you underline. You have always to ask ourselves how the other guy will think about the project. So the questions should be like that question. You should ask yourself the first one, or among them at least, why the project is new, why it is innovative, it is creating novel solutions. Okay, and all those points should be widely developed by while writing the proposal. Okay, so really make sure you focus on the aspects of your proposal that are radically different from what you has been done in the past. Yeah. Yeah. No.
Okay.
Okay.
Will you first finish this round and then we can give comments, or you prefer them as we go along?
Maybe just I finish the page.
Yes.
Okay.
No problem.
And after, yeah. Okay. You are right. Okay. You can do that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the second point is that does it promise to go substantially beyond the state of the art? All those points to be developed. So this is one of the questions that reviewers has to reply to you. You should be asking yourself the same question to justify why your project is significant. Why is it important and necessary to carry out that project? You should also focus not only on what your project is, but also on why. Okay, you should think big. This is what they say on all projects, especially our European one. But sometimes, if you think big, they said it is too much ambitious. It is always in between. It happened also with me and you, I think. Sometimes it can be feasible, but the reviewer will say it is too much for the period and so on. Have you proven or supported your case? Do you have any hypotheses? Have you stated it clearly enough? Are your goals realistic? You should be ambitious, as I wrote here, but not over ambitious. What is the middle? I don't know. Yeah, maybe now you can.
We had a lot of experience with these things in Switzerland, especially in Lausanne at Polytechnique and all of that. And over several years, I was also chairing the whole doctoral school of Western Switzerland, so we have plenty of experience. And experience number one, which is useful but non-trivial with the COVID situation, is that the idea is that you ask young people to write the project as soon as possible. Because it's always difficult. It's difficult at any age. So the sooner you start, and it doesn't mean which year, whatever, you always ask people to write proposals. Secondly, we learned that it's very useful to have supervision by somebody who is a young colleague, like somebody who's already doing doctorate, has a little bit of experience, and some professor or some senior person. Because one does a tutorial and the other one does a supervision, so to speak. So that helps. Not easy because of context problems now, but that helps. So you have a generations, same generation, somebody more senior. Third thing which we discovered, which helped tremendously, is a short talk. Because if you're writing a project, but you're forced to give even a short talk, it doesn't have to be long, it forces you to focus. Because the most difficult in writing projects to young people, and referees know that, is how to focus, because senior people and people who fund and people who respond usually have little time. So we even have a competition which is called a doctorate in 2 minutes. So we have a competition where all the guys who did doctorate, they have to explain in 2 minutes what they've done. And in America, it's known even as a half a minute rule. So you have a candidate and you say, well, nice to meet you, but can you tell me in 30 seconds why you're unique? Boom, right? So this you have here, but I would focus a little bit more. This is more French style, and I worked in France. I'm French also as well. And so this is a little bit which we call true socialist. Don't take me wrong, I'm all in favor, but it's a little bit, nya, nya, nya, nya, nyu, nyu, nyu, nyu, mutsi, mutsi, we have money. We have to teach them, like in sports, to distinguish themselves. Writing project, doing a presentation, going for it, forces young person, or whoever that person is, to show the essential of personality and style. And it will always be different. So the only aspect I would do, I wouldn't change this. I would just modulate a little bit, just slightly, so that the emphasis be on a shorter presentation, clearly on the goal, and that they probably have a presentation which we can discuss, which I think you have. This is what will be our experience. I don't know whether it helps or not, and because mainly in COVID, it's difficult. But without COVID, it works.
Okay, thank you for the nice comments. Ibrahim, maybe?
I mean, all the projects are in sort of a race, so you are in race with other candidates. So in a person-to-person communication, you need to explain and you need to show your desire to win it. But on paper, it's some other story. So if your project is being evaluated on paper, you are not there. So you have to make every point clear and easily understood before on the project text.
Yeah, I agree. So it is like that. Sometimes we have some, not only the project in the paper, but both. They can ask you to come and to summarize, maybe to say 20 minutes or something like that. And the task is quite different and difficult. You want to say something here?
Yeah, just something very quick. So you said, like everybody knows that, project needs to be innovative, it needs to be new, right? So to what extent, I'm sure the young researchers here, to what extent you should give your idea in the proposal? Because once you put your innovative idea in the proposal, it's gone out of your hands, right? People can go and use this idea and do whatever they want to do with it. So how you can be new and innovative at the same time you're not telling everything what you know
Yes.
supposed to have. So
I
how do you
understand.
tackle that?
Yeah. Also, here it is difficult to say, but you have to ask yourself question how to be convincing. Why the project is new and why the other people have never done it. I wrote something in the other slides. Maybe it will answer to your question. Can I go? Can I go? Okay. Okay. So, have you proven or supported your case? Some mistakes. Sorry. Okay. Do you have any hypotheses? Have you stated it clearly enough? Are your goal realistic? Okay, you should be ambitious, as I said, but not that much. Is the project timely? Why does this this was not done in the past? So maybe this answer to your remark. So all those questions should be expected, and in general, the reviewer will see those points. Okay, you have yeah. So another point, which is the risk. You have, I think, to show that there is a risk in science. Okay, something which is not sure. Otherwise, if everything is expected, this is not really a research, as we know. Okay, so what is the risk? Risk assessment is something that should be included. Okay, so nobody expects that the whole project, the proposal, to be high risk. Okay, but to be high risk. So there will be different levels of the risk, and you should show that you have thoughts how you will manage that risk. So there is a risk. They prefer in general for the biggest project. And does this risk justify the potential gain? Is the risk maybe early in the project? Have you proposed alternatives, some solutions in your projects? This shows your way of thinking, and that your choices will not be random, but your thoughts on all those options of risk and how can you manage them. Okay. So, in that point, maybe someone can say something additional.
Any comments?
About the risk, especially because in the projects, in general, it is important that you show that there is some risk. Yeah, what means novelty,
Okay.
which is not sure. Yeah, yeah, Ali.
Yes, I think nowadays in all projects, at least in all European projects of all types, even if they are, like, say, Marie Curie, which are educational projects, and in Spain, in national projects that I know, probably some of the French that I have reviewed also, I think everywhere they ask you for risks and mitigation plan. So I don't recall, especially in European and European projects, all ask for a mitigation plan, and it is followed by an officer if you're given the project. So This is a very important aspect, and it's really crucial to have one, because this can be a reason to fail in a proposal. At least at the European level, It's also true that we can make some more comments later, that this is not the way I think science should be done. That's another story. Yes, this is too bureaucratic. And I don't think this is the way to advance science, because all the topics are there. In most of the projects, they ask you for specific topics with specific configurations of projects. And so I think I am of the belief that free science starts bottom up always. But this, you're right that this most projects, and unfortunately, are now this way, and a large part of the budget. And to be successful, you need to adapt to these projects. And so, to the question you were saying before, which is really important, that what Basim was saying, that of course, if you send out a very bright idea, it's out, and anybody can do it. And we have examples of that, which I said during the course. I don't think I should repeat them now. And what we usually have is a plan A and a plan B. The plan A is public, is what is in the proposal. Unfortunately, it has to be very well justified, as you were saying, that it is new, it's innovative. Why is it different from the state of the art? How can you convince the reviewers? But at the same time, we have a plan B, especially when we go with companies, because companies cannot put the new ideas on paper so they can be reviewed by anyone out of control. So, but this is a lot more work, and I think you can do that when you have much more experience. I'm working for more than 30 years on this, so I learned this on the way. And so I think the other message that I have is that you learn these things on the way. But for young people, I would say, you have to learn this to adapt to what it is. But if you really want to discover something interesting and make a contribution in science, a pioneering contribution, I think this is not the way. But it's the only way to get financial aid in Europe, at least.
Thank you, Herman. So I think we are going to prepare some common project together, so we can take into account this. Okay. So this was about the risk. Okay, and now another slide, if no more comments, it will be about collaborations. Okay, so we all have
Can you
Yes.
change the slide
It's
on
okay.
the?
It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay now. Thank you. So now, what about the collaborations? So I think also here you have to explain the collaborations. Have you given a realistic picture on your collaborations? This is very important to show that you collaborate with ex-colleague from Germany, from Switzerland, from Turkey, and so on. But it is also important that you show that your project is not a collaborative project, except if this is sometimes some call in between two countries from in France, from France and China, or with Germany. This is something else. But if it is pure project for your country, so you have to show that your project is not collaborative project, but you are collaborating with the other people, other scientists, in order to just to be comfortable, and if needed, you have some external expertise from your colleagues. So you have a large collaboration from everyone. Okay, so this is the point about the collaboration. And another point is why you have the best to carry out. You are the best to carry out this project. So why your approaches are outstanding compared to the others. So this come from literature, some bibliography, what people have done on the matter, and you compare, and you have to show that some people have maybe already developed something, but it is not enough, and you are here to complete. So, have you shown independence also in the past? This is about something related to the CV when you prepare. You can list, it is quite important, and sometimes it is already written somewhere in the templates, and sometimes not. But anyway, you have to include a list of previous findings if you have, and for young people if they don't have, it can be some previous contribution to some projects which are already accepted. Okay, another point here, just mine, but sorry. So, are you internationally recognized? But it is for senior scientists, not for the young. Okay, this one, active and competitive in the field. For instance, have you served in the committees, scientific committee? Also as an editor, reviewer, expert. This is also quite important. Especially for people who will be in charge of the expertise of your projects. Maybe you can discuss here.
I will comment here concerning collaboration. It's very important, even if you have a good collaboration, I mean good friends, when you are working within the field, to mention them only if they can contribute through the projects. Otherwise, as Ali said, you very need to give a clear picture about the collaboration of the work that all the people involved in the project will do. Because if the consortium is not well done, it can be the project being failed. So be careful. Even if you are working a long time ago with some colleagues, not put them just because they are friends, just to put them because they can contribute, and you can say them, they will contribute to that field.
Thank you. Right. Some other comments here. Just to complete, it
Is there any other comments from the audience? Yes, Professor Gencer.
I'm not sure whether I have understood correctly. The most important thing maybe about the project proposal writing is the scheme. There are too many different schemes. This could be international scheme, national scheme, and scheme for students, scheme for postgraduate students, and scheme for academics, scheme for entrepreneurs, businessmen or something like that. So it is difficult to merge them together, to make unified rules.
We are talking about this difference between, it can be national, bilateral between the other countries, or maybe with companies. It is different. But here I just summarize some common. Some.
The main funding agency in Turkey for academics is TÜBİTAK. TÜBİTAK. The success rate for project rates may be more than the average in Europe. If you look at Horizon 2020, Turkey is about 7.5% success rate for the projects. And the second thing, most of the academics in Turkey do not spend time writing proposals. This is another issue. And so if you have academics in the universities not intending to write proposal, then how you can train students to write proposals? These are the national point of view, the issues in Turkey. And this could be somewhat different in Algeria, in France, in Switzerland, and in USA. You can write the best proposal, and the scheme does not cover it because the scheme aims and objectives may be different. So the projects are written with respect to calls of the funding agencies. Maybe I'm just, I was not following it. Maybe I may have missed something.
I think you're right there. Saying myself, I've been also involved in some training project. The fact is that I've been involved. I haven't applied to any project, but just because the people I know from Estonia at that time, there were in strong relationship with some agencies that are close also to the European Commission. So this is why we can say they know what are the goal and what are the needs of the European. So you need to be very close to needs, and then you can write in the way they want to. So this is something very important.
Yes, initially when we discussed with Ibrahim that we were hoping that our professors could learn how to join the multinational projects, especially European Union projects. Now, writing a good project is one issue. There are also political issues behind it. For example, if you were to write a project on earthquake detection using superconducting street sensors, and I don't know whether Ali Bosbe is here, and the French part said, okay, this project has two aims and dual use. You can detect mines, you can detect marines, you can also detect the variation in the magnetic field on the Earth, so that could give you some information about the earthquake in advance. Something like that. So there are many different issues. So unifying them in a 2-day school or in a 2-hour panel discussion is difficult. In Turkey, I think these people who spend time in writing proposals should be promoted, both financially and by other means. This is Turkey's point of view.
Thank you very much, Professor Gencer. And this is something like this. I mean, this has a scattering nature. I mean, the quality of your project proposal is something, and it is being it has some sort of effect, but it's not. It doesn't determine everything. So the point here is try to make it the best possible written project, so you can increase the chance of obtaining that funds. And I can talk about the situation in Bolaban State Parsel University. Something like 2 years ago, and they have started a program teaching young academicians to how to write a project, and try to encourage them to write a project. And this made a difference. I mean, the number of projects given by our university has increased more than double, and the project we get is more than 50% more now. I mean, when you stress this point and when you encourage people about writing project proposals and trying their best, it really helps, as I experienced in my university.
That used to support these kind of training schools nationwide, not individual universities, in the past. Now, these days, Doctorate does not organize these kind of schools. 7.5% success rate in Turkey is big compared to European Horizon 2020, for example. But anyway, my point is here. I mean, if you are talking to students or academics, it's a different issue. The project must be precisely written. I mean, the objectives must be clearly defined, and the methodology, and things like that. So maybe we can focus on the common issues about the project proposal writing instead of talking other issues. Anyway, and we have some preparation, so maybe we can discuss what we're saying instead of this.
Any more comments here?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I can go. So, another point. Okay. Here, it is also about collaboration. I just underline once again that it's good to show your international collaborations, committees you have been part, and the other points, maybe the last in this place. Have you shown scientific leadership in your CV? And here I am talking with the senior scientists, not of course not the young students. Quite important because you know to be if you are leadership and the view of the reviewer will be certainly different if you are the one. Okay. So other points here in the project you have also to prove some continuity and credibility. Both. So continuity you have to show that you have already some experience that related to the projects, and the present projects come to do some extent to your previous studies and the previous projects. Okay, the list of publication very important because a lot of scientists they do, and they think that sometimes it can be a bit sensitive. You know, so the reviewer cannot really appreciate if you put a big list of thousands of papers, and sometimes it can be of help if it can be grouped in some topics. Okay, that's so written differently. This is what I want to say now. Okay, this can be. I'm just opening the question. So also to show us somewhere in the project the scientific independence.
What do you mean by scientific independence?
Independence. Also, well, it can be seen from different points of view. That you have already done some yourself. You have the leadership of previous projects. Or sometimes also from the papers, if you have some single papers, it can help, or just with your own students. If the list of publications include too much people, then I think I am in some committees in France, national committee, and I can tell you, okay, then people don't appreciate too much. This kind of, you know, not always, but at least for. Not always. So, and it meets what the other colleagues said. That I think you already said this. Yeah. So you writing the project, the proposal should start immediately, not waiting for the last week. But I think all people in general wait for the last day. The last day. Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's happened for everyone. Okay, but it is not a good idea. That's okay. So I would like to say a lot of things, but I don't. But as Ali said, there are a lot of and the other colleagues. So there are a lot of ways ways to write the proposals. It depends on what kind of proposal, but maybe this can be a big summary of some points here. Yeah, now, yeah, it depends.
Yes, Professor Genzer.
One of the most useful issues you mentioned, instead of just listing the application, maybe you need to give brief explanation of what is the correlation between your application and the content of the proposal. So that would be more useful. Maybe this is important. If you go to previous page, maybe previous slide. And some of them are for academics, some of them for students. No.
Yes, Professor Fauna.
I've listened very carefully, and globally I agree. But I'm not ashamed to say they have tremendous experience. And I really mean, I was referring for Europe, I was referring for Slovenia, I was referring from Saudi Arabia, for Canada, for America, for Japan, for China, and God knows whoever, and at every level. I give you my word, if I didn't do it at just about any level and directly. So you have a good document, but believe me, it depends who you're dealing with. Just give you one example, the shock of my life. Israeli-American collaboration, totally independent. And I did my best and everything. And okay, the numbers were 999. The collaboration is very good. 999 in my language out of 10 is fantastic. They didn't get the funding. Why? Israeli-American collaboration means everybody's 10 because they're out of scale, so to speak. You have to know it ab initio. So you have to know the boundary conditions, which I didn't get here. What I don't get is boundary conditions, meaning that we define what is for junior level, senior level, intermediate level, and let me give you European Union. European Union, I can tell you, I had fantastic fundings all my life, but in European Union, I was funded only if the ref renewed. It's a really special cuisine. And I know because we have representatives working for us in Brussels, if you not have lobbying and have additional elements, are non-trivial. On the other hand, some things like Joliot-Curie, Bourse, or whatever, you can get relatively easily if the laboratory is a lobby for you. Like if Zaragoza want to collaborate, let's say with Lille or whatever, Plzeň in Poland, you can get it relatively easy because some things go easily. So I think the dossier is okay. I agree with everything you say, but I think we have to normalize it. And for junior and young people, what we have in Lausanne, we fund them at the earlier level, meaning professor has certain funding, the dean has certain funding. So a young person doesn't have to go immediately to Europe. As you, Ali, said, I agree. They should be at early level asked to compete, not when they already come higher. But that can be done at the junior level. I mean, already in third year or something, ask them to write a project, give kind of a carrot or something, all right? Do it in the class. We did that already in the undergraduate studies. In the third year, actually, I was running the classes. They would have to give a seminar and write the projects already in the undergraduate third year and had a little competition. We would give already little money. And they loved it. So they went through the process. And so you trained several times. And to be blunt with you, I'll quote one of my colleagues who is very experienced, worked everywhere in the plant. He told me one thing, Davor, there's no rule but one. Go. Go, go. You fall and you go. And it's like playing soccer and you play 94th minute and you still attack. And you lose and you come back and attack. In funding, and I give from my own experience, it's all perfect, but it's not always just. And so we have to teach young people that they go and they grow. And they will get the funding. Because we are qualified people. So I think this is the goal. The goal is to encourage young people and senior people, as Ali said in Turkey in general, to go for it. And it will not always work. But by and large, the country becomes more competitive. And I don't know whether you knew, but Switzerland, as a small country, is number one in competitiveness, above Singapore. And the reason is there's a lot of this system. A lot of this system. So I would encourage you to keep all that, just define boundary conditions. That's all I would add to this. And then with that, I think you have a good scheme.
I can say a couple of things on this issue. In different disciplines, people who refer the projects has different attitudes. In one discipline, they can get 10 out of 10, and with the same quality in another discipline, especially in physics, they can get 6 out of 10. That's very important. So at some stage in almost for all disciplines, I mean, normalization is very important.
Yeah, I agree with that. The humanities are not the same game as the natural science. I agree.
Yes. Also, I know first-hand knowledge, experience that TÜBİTAK was giving projects to different disciplines within the same budget. So one type of disciplines were getting too much. Then they had to put a limit to each discipline. So this way, that was some sort of justification for applicants.
Like, say maybe the last one. So
the last point I would like to say here is that in a way, if everything is perfect, there is still one problem of the chance reviewers. Okay, so there is a lottery in that point. This is we can say whatever we want. So, the project sometimes can be really perfect, but no chance. And, well, in general, the good projects will win, but this is general. But there is still this question of lottery, of chance of the project.
Any more comments?
I would say again what I said earlier. It's very important to explain to young people that to fail is not a failure.
Right.
It's very difficult ego game. When you're young, it's a disaster if you get, and later on you realize it can happen and you still go for it. So this is usually body. It's also psychological body when you do in the beginning. So it's a duty of us all to explain to young people above all. No, you can fail, but you're not a failure. Not to mix the issue of a person trying and the project occasionally being refused for whatever reasons.
Yeah, I would completely agree with him. For example, in the United States, like every time when we hire a new assistant professor on a tenure track position, so they are encouraged to write proposals. So a lot of times, people are thinking they want to get funds, but actually they get a lot of points towards their, from tenure track towards tenure just for writing proposals because they are encouraging them to write. So I think that is one of the points. And secondly, just a very quick thing. So you mentioned in the listing the list instead of listing all the papers. So I would also agree with you in this because, for example, in National Science Foundation, so every time when we write a proposal, we have a specific format for CV, and we list 5 relevant publications. So you may have 200 publications, but they want you to write 5 relevant publications, and then I forgot the word what they exactly use, but the 5 major publications. So you may have with impact factor 30 and 2,000 citations or whatever. So those ones you can also list, but not more than 5. So instead of sometimes like kind of what you're saying, instead of just like listing all the publications, you have to list the relevant ones and the really, really good ones. So.
Other points I just missed it. The most complicated projects is the one of mixer between academic and companies, and we have in the north, for example, of France, what we call head of projects Interreg. So I think also between France, Netherlands, and the UK. Not anymore now with UK because of Brexit. Yeah, but before, yeah, and you have to include much more companies than academicians and coming from the university. And then here the most difficult task is how can you discuss combine between the academic objective and the one on those of the companies, and writing projects is a hard task.
Interreg project is a cross-border project with in some specific area, but funded by the European Union. So it's very specific to regions that are close to a country like Luxembourg, Germany, Belgium.
Yes. And sometimes they ask for instance, for 3-4 academicians, so 3-4 universities, and the remaining parts are completely from companies, at least 10 sometimes. So huge panel of contributions, and so it was not written here, but just.
I can tell you good news. I've done those in France and in Switzerland. It can be, in some cases, fantastic. You can have a billionaire company owner, and he can just build a complete lot. That also happens. If you are good or have something new, they're very fast. And it happened to me directly in my life. They built me a private laboratory with 10 million, just like that. So that can happen. I also worked in French companies, just all about that. I can tell you about this. That can be complicated, but they are much more efficient than CNRS.
Yes.
But they want the exact goal. British companies, they're even more to the point. The Germans, you can make it a long arrangement. So the companies are not a bad game, but they ask for more precision, and of course the goal has to be more specific. In academia, we are a little bit more nice, but I don't think we should generalize. This is also part of the whole scheme that you're doing very well. So I think that criticism, so let's.
I think enthusiasm is very important in this respect, in the academic side of the project proposal writing, because if you are enthusiastic about your idea and you want to know what's going on and you want to search for it, then you should be after your project proposal even if it gets rejected. And if it gets rejected, you just rework on it, and probably they will give you some reasons why they did reject it. Then it will make your project even better, and you will have the chance of perfecting it in while, and at the end you will get it accepted. I think.
To this, I can give a specific advice. That happened to me, of course, not only to me. Occasionally they reject you, and if they give you the reason for rejection, which can happen, then you basically send again with exactly kind of aspects which they want. So you rephrase it, so to speak. Actually, it can be very good for all of us. I'll give you a concrete example of a World Economic Forum in Davos. One of my colleagues went to Davos to all these big shots of finances, and at the table, like we here, or we go for a drink, he asked all these guys, he said, well, what can we do for you that you will fund? Quickly first, just over coffee, right? Well, he bought 2 apartments in New York to his daughters after funding like that. So, it's the same rule, but you adapt to the funding agency. In that case, there's rich guys from Davos, okay? So it still applies. They will still ask you specifically this, and that. But they will come to you the other way around. And you also know, in some cases, European Union or somebody else, even private foundations, and I'm sitting in some of them, so I know, ask for people to apply. Right now in Africa, they want hydrogen solution for various things. NIST America look for the quantum protection in cyberspace. You have today Elon Musk asking support for his SpaceX on Twitter. It's just crazy stuff, and he has enough money for sure, right? So if you follow, then your scheme is very general, apart from boundary conditions to whom you go. And then you have to be flexible. That's all.
Kevin?
Yeah, I want to mention that, for example, when you apply in the French government, that is called ENR, they never give you the reason why you are rejected, because they want you to doesn't know what to do, and they want you to if you correct your proposal, you might be not succeed because some other reason, so they will never give you the reason.
Thank you. I'm French, by the way, because I'm married to a French woman. I'm French. Yes, but France works differently. Oh la la la la. You have to know the guys, okay? So what do you do when you're rejected? You go to Paris and you know to which ministry and you know to which committee. And if you know your way, French style, then you get to the guys, have your coffee, and you find out what's going on. So French style is, please, I mean, I could tell you a different culture of England, France, United States, Germany, Israel. Every part of sub-Europe or space, they have different stuff. France, you have to know the people and you will get the answer. They will not put it in writing. Okay, so it's different culture, but you can still find out what it is.
Okay, Amr.
Now, I have a question for all of you in particular. It's looking at this from a different point of view. You know, I was born up as a young scientist into science with great professors in the USA who thought completely different. And then they ask you this tricky question, you know, and what is this good for? And then you answer that question, another professor came and said, why does it have to be good for anything? And this was always the trick. And what it makes me think is for a young person, whether it's somebody just entering the scientific career or just at an early stage, what would you recommend that they propose in their proposals when they are pressured to certain guidelines and to a lot of fashionable science? You know, do we have to do fashionable science? Do we have great ideas which are completely different? I just wanted to open that to see what you...
I have good news for you. You wouldn't believe how many foundations on planet Earth exist that fund actually, let's call them a priori not useful inventions. I mean, you know, let's be blunt. Let's take mathematics. I mean, certain aspects of fractal mathematics, I've done some things on work. You wouldn't normally get funding from industry or, you know, but there are people. I mean, I'll just give you one parameter, which is usually neglected. Do you realize we have 6 million billionaires on planet Earth? Yeah, all billionaires. Now, to a billionaire to give, let's say, 100,000 or even $1 million for a project to a young person, it's a joke. I worked with them, so I know. No big deal. So this is important because if you know how to convey the idea, let's take Boris Milner. He's a mathematician from Moscow. Very brilliant guy and billionaire. You write him just a nice letter, and it happened in the past. He likes your idea in a special branch of mathematics. He will fund you. So it doesn't have to be just applied. And believe me, a lot of people on the planet are not just cost effective. And to the best of my knowledge, and you can verify, there are even schemes. Well, I chair in Tesla Foundation. I chair in committee of Porima. Porima is Goddess of the Future. We are in Lausanne, Switzerland. We have these things, yes. So there is more need for really what you evaluate in these things is the creativity and the person. It happened in America. I can tell you just a concrete example. I got it from Washington. I did my job and all that. And I said, this is such a good project, you have to double the funding. I sent it back. Half an hour later, the guy calls me from Washington. Why are you crazy? I don't have enough money. I have to do. I said, look, this is so good. I mean, I have to tell you the truth. I'm not giving the money. If you don't have money, you have money. But this is so good. Fund him, cut somebody else. He did. That person was brilliant who did the project, and he did a great job, and we all knew it. So you really look at the candidate, and believe me, it's like, I'll take a total different example. It's in soccer. When you see the talent, you see it. And referees are not ugly people. They also like to participate in a positive way. So it's a community thing. And I think, as you said, and I fully agree, in natural sciences, we are still pretty good, actually. In humanities, it's a bit tricky, as you would say, and I would not comment beyond that. But in what we usually do here and all that, I think situation is pretty good. And if somebody really wants to go for it, I think there's more than enough funds on the planet. And just let me give you the numbers. Ladies and gentlemen, are you aware that the current funding on the planet, which is basically top companies that we feed, we technologists here, right? Please correct me if I'm not mistaken, but I think Apple is 2,000 billion or 2.5. I mean, Jeff Bezos and all these other guys. They're about, correct my word, but it's $10,000 billion. I mean, they can fund anything. So I don't think it's a problem. We have to teach everybody, ourselves included, how to apply for it in a coherent way. In humanities, I think we should talk to those guys separately.
Okay. Any more comments? I think it's been very fruitful evening today.
I apologize. No, I'll tell you why. And this is really serious what I'm going to tell you. With all due respect to everything you said, I give you my personal word that a lot of things that helped me, my funding and funding of my colleagues, was what happens next, which can be coffee or beer or socializing. I give you my word. All this, yes, all this is necessary. But the fact that we can drink coffee together, socialize, and do all this a little bit more humanly diluted is a part of the whole equation.
That's a very important part of life and research and academic approach. Now, I would like to thank all the contributors and all the audience for tonight's event. Thank you very much.